Scott Brown here. In today's exciting episode, we're going to do a bit of a van tour of my van fit out and how I use the Toyota Hiace. It's a bit of an evolutionary process, this fit out. I've had an old van that had a similar layout. I've made improvements on that. And I want to go over some of the things I wish I did on this van fit out. And then maybe if you're thinking about doing a van fit out, it could be helpful, you know? And also I'm going to do some improvements at the end of this video that I've been thinking about doing. Let's start with what the van is actually and how it operates. So this is a Toyota Hiace, 2006 model, so it's getting on in years, and it's a petrol. It takes 91 unleaded, that kind of thing. This is the front cab. It's actually full of stuff at the moment, but it's basically a bench seat that folds down into a bit of a console. You can fold it up and you can have two seats there. In the newer models, they're getting rid of the middle seat, and that means you've only got a two-seater. But let's look at the actual fit out and how I store my tools in here. Starting with the sliding door on the driver's side, the right-hand side. We live in New Zealand after all, we drive on the left. So over here is where I have my drop saw. And one of the first improvements I'll bring up here is I wish this was a bit higher. My Festool Capex can fit in there, but as soon as I put the Capex onto arms or brackets that fit on a Mitre saw stand, it can't fit. So if you look at the drop saw I have here even, this is a small one, there's about 40 mil of a gap there. So that works, but most drop saws are bigger than this. So this is a bit of a tight space. But the issue with making that higher is it makes the whole platform higher. The general idea of this setup is to build a big flat platform that the tools fit underneath, and then when you look through the windows you just see a flat platform. And it has the added bonus of allowing me to make a total mess of the van, as you can see here, and still get access to the tools. You're not piling rubbish on top of your tools. But anyway, I've got the vacuum over here on this side. Having them side by side is ideal. I definitely keep that way in the next van fit out. And I just put my work shoes in there. When I get home from work, I don't want to drag mud through the house, so I just take them off as soon as I get out of the car. And then I've got a little box here that says paint stuff, but it's actually filled with straps that I use to tie stuff to the roof when I'm picking up timber and everything. And I've also got my 12-volt stapler, bits of paint and hand soap, and yeah, just bits and bobs that I need as soon as I get out of the van. And one thing that is important in this setup, if you're going to do the flat top setup, is bring the plywood all the way to the window, all the way to the door rather. If you don't, and you shut the door, like I did in my old setup, I would shut the door and I would have this hole here, and anything that was on the top, it would roll and fall down here, and then I would open the sliding door and there'd be crap falling out of the van. The back here is a lift-up hatch style door with a window in it, and I've built two big drawers with the Mitre saw stand in the middle. And this brings me on to one of the other things that have been annoying me from the start. This is a half track, fits there nicely, but nothing's holding it. If I pull this out and leave it on a job, that's got nothing keeping it there. It needs a place. So at the end of this video, I'm going to try and make a place for it. Moving up, I've got the long track here. So this I bought as a 3-meter Makita track, and because the van is only so long, I had to cut it down to 267 something. And here I've got another setup that I'm very happy with, and that's each level has its own place. They're sitting on carpet, spray glued to the plywood that I built this out of. And 1.8, 0.8, this one here, 2.4, 1.2, and 0.6. And the drawers. And I've got a video for each drawer. And the way I use this is I based it all around the sustainer system, or the Tanos system. Festool use it, Makita use it, Hikoki use it. The basic idea of a sustainer is rectangle, a sort of thin, kind of lightweight plastic, but surprisingly robust based on the way they've formed it. And it makes for a handy size. I quite like how small it is. A lot of the other toolboxes people use are quite big and bulky, and you kind of put like 6 or 7 tools in one box. And that's good in some situations, but I preferred having a box for each tool, let's say. Sustainers on the side, and sustainers on the top, and then I've got little holes for loose tools. This is like a little improvised system. There was a guy who came and did some work on one of our jobs, and he had a drawer similar to this, and this is how we solved the handle problem. Anyway, the short of it is you pull this up and it pulls both levers up at the same time. You only need one hand, and you pull this out. I've got all these cis ones down here, and they've got things like boxes of screws in there, SDS bits in there, drill bits in there, multi-tool over there. And I've written on them so I can see at a glance what it is. So yeah, it's all built for sustainers. So this top part is built for sustainers as well. That's a hard thing to say with a lisp. You know what else is hard to say with a lisp? Squarespace. Now I may have trouble with my lisp, but I don't have trouble with my website because of Squarespace. They make building a website super easy with their portfolios and galleries and automatic image scaling, and you can connect your website to your social media accounts. They basically have a whole lot of resources to help you build your website. So if you're a beginner, it's really helpful. The platform is simple and it looks good, which is important for your business. And once you've had a go with it and you're ready to launch your website, go to squarespace.com/Scott Brown Carpentry to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So yeah, check that out if you want a website, and thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video, especially now during a lockdown. Let's check out this drawer. This can hold sustainers, like I was saying, but I've purposely left them out here, and to introduce some kind of order, I've put these brackets here. Stealth mount brackets is what they're called. They basically mimic what your tools do, and they clip the battery on. And then I've just got loose things in here like clamps. I've got odds and ends of screws. When you're renovating houses, you need a lot of loose things, and you often only need them once. It's a little bit messy, to be honest. Yeah, so that's how I use the drawer. I just kind of throw things in the top on this side, but I've got my sustainers neatly ordered underneath. Like I keep saying, this top design has been really great because I've got my tool belt and everything just thrown on top. I've got my tripod up there, I've got my workbench just thrown at the top there, but I can still get to all these tools underneath, and I know where they are. That's the other thing. Anytime you do a van fit out, there's always a challenge, and that's the wheel arches. Some of the newer vans have wider space between the wheel arches, but this one's an older van, and you kind of have to just work around the wheel arches. Part of the reason I have this raised platform is because I wanted to put full sheets into the van, and you can't do that between the wheel arches, you have to do it above the wheel arches. So this is, that was like a long way of saying this void over here is kind of like an afterthought. Leaf blower or dust cleaner upper. I've got my Mitre planer, cordless 18-volt Mitre planer, and oh yeah, I do have a nail gun there. My framing gun goes down there. That's usually the main thing that goes down there. And caulking gun. It's not a perfect setup, this, but it works for me. I'm trying out this new Mitre drop saw stand. It's a big chunky thing compared to the DeWalt. And therefore I had to modify the hole. See, that is drop saw stand shaped to accommodate the Mitre stand. All right, another thing that I wish I knew before I made this van fit out, and this might be the most important thing. This is a real pokey little hole. Like, there's no way I'm going to climb down there and cut that hole. I had to do it from the side. It was kind of similar with the drawers. I'm a skinny guy, so I managed to fit in that space to redo those drawer rails, but it wasn't easy. So one thing that I would do differently is kind of treat it like a kitchen. Kitchens aren't one big cabinet with a bench on top. They're made up of smaller cabinets, and I should have done that here. In my attempt to save on weight and not make the thing so heavy, I try to minimize ply. So the top piece of ply is screwed to these side pieces of ply, and then the drawer rails are screwed to that. But I should have just, not worried about the weight so much and built a drawer unit on its own. So a big cube, and then I could slide that out without the top being on it, and then work on it and then slide it back in. But instead, the thing that holds the drawer is also the thing that holds up the whole structure. So let's look at the sliding door. So the sliding door on the side, that's the other thing about this van. It's got two twin sliding doors, really crucial. At least you get access to the whole van fit out. And down here is where I keep my table saw. Originally when I built this, I kind of didn't do anything with this space up here. It was kind of dead space. So I would often pile things on top of the table saw, and then I'd end up inevitably having to pull them off anytime I needed the table saw. So recently I did this little drawer that I'm very excited about. Loose tools like tin snips, marking gauge, fold out handsaw, and then I put it all on top of Kaizen foam so it doesn't move around. And because it's such a shallow drawer, all I have to do is open it and I can see everything at once. I've got my track saw there, and then right behind the track saw, shout out to James the Builder. Way back when my channel first started, he sent me this because he couldn't bear to have a Makita box in his setup. He is a bit of a fan of DeWalt tools, so he sent me this. Thank you, James. And inside this box is where I've always kept my finishing guns. So this is a 16 gauge Hikoki. I have to actually check as well because they look exactly the same. And this is the, no, this is the 16 gauge, and this is the 18 gauge. See, even I get them mixed up. And they're covered in paint like any good finishing gun is. And yeah, they're good guns. I like them. And as you can see clearly in here, that is how I managed to cut out that hole for the drop saw stand. And then this here, there's two batteries, and they work for the table saw. Use that for the saw, and got a backup battery as well. And like the other side, I've got the footwell down below, and that's just got my jack in case I get a flat tire, some random screws again, renovation life, and then socket set, long drill bit that I couldn't find another place for, and fire extinguisher. Oh yeah, and on the outside of the van I got the tow bar, that kind of thing, but I've also got these roof racks, and the roof racks are Rhino racks, and they're really good. They're steel and they hold a ton of weight. They also have this rubber seal at the top that just kind of slides in, and that actually creates enough friction to stop things moving around. You should tie it down still, you're meant to, but I've forgotten to tie things down and driven kilometers with stuff on the roof racks, and the rubber was enough to hold it. So the little rubber things are good. Now, it's an old van, a 2006 Toyota Hiace, and it's a good van. They're reliable, that's why they're super popular here in New Zealand. It's an older van. It doesn't have like built-in Bluetooth, it doesn't have reversing camera, electric seats, you know, it's pretty no thrills, but is it thrills or frills?
I don't know, frills I assume.
It's a no frills van, and that's fine. It's a work van, it doesn't need to be frilly. Sometimes when I'm driving and I see somebody I know, and they come up to me from that side, I have to go, sorry, I can't wind the window down because of this. It's a windy. So yeah, it's pretty basic, and that's fine. But the thing that does bother me, the one thing that I would change, and the one thing that I worry about with this van, is how unsafe it is. So if you look at this, here I am, steering wheel, foot's on the accelerator, and in terms of where the front of the van is, I mean, my foot is pretty much at the front of the van. That is the main thing that bothers me about this van, how if I crash into something or someone, I'm probably gonna lose the battle. Yeah, the front is right there. I think that was done originally because these were designed in Japan. Japan has smaller streets and they need to get into tight spaces but still have enough room for a sheet of ply in the back. I think that was the main idea. Toyota has recently changed that, and they have a newer style that has a bit of a nose on it, kind of like a Volkswagen Transporter, and it looks weird, I'll say that, but you get that 5-star safety rating with the motor and everything being in the front, and then they've added all these airbags everywhere, and yeah, a lot safer. Anyway, let's make these improvements, and I'm gonna have to do that back at home. This is my excited face. Level 3! It's a weird world when we're excited about level 3. Level 3 is one down from level 4, and it basically means I can go back to work. And you can get takeaway food as well. So this exciting episode, I was going to finish with, you know, sorting out the van, but it turns out now I'm sorting out work. And I didn't think that was going to happen. So we'll see if we can do a bit of the van as well, but we're getting ready for work mainly. So I want this thing to kind of sit up here. That way it's out of the way from the bottom of this, from the widest point of this workbench. But I've also got to come up with a way to grab it without hitting that. So there's definitely a lot more activity out there. I can hear all the trucks and cars and music coming out of cars, all just outside. People are definitely ready to get out of the house, and understandably, man. I'm making this up on the spot, you realize that, right? Oh my God. Happy with that. That's pretty good. This is what I was talking about before. It's awkward. So there we go, my van fit out so far anyway. One day I'll get a new van and something a bit safer, and then do the fit out all over again and maybe make some plans that people can download. But for now, I've got half a dozen videos about it, and I hope you enjoy it. And I'll see you in the next exciting episode, where we will be back to work. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video, and thank you for watching. I highly appreciate you guys' support. While we're doing all this lockdown stuff and all these things that are out of my control. I appreciate you guys supporting the channel in the meantime. Catch you in the next one. I'm pretending you're going to be me, and then I'm going to talk to the camera.
I'm Scott Brown.
Oh, this is perfect, yeah.
Scott Brown, yeah?
Exactly.
That was my impression.
So this is the framing that you want, okay?
Smoko time! Do, do, do.
Alright, let's try that. So yes, I may have trouble with my Lisp, but I don't have trouble with my website. Shut up.
I'm sorry.